If you're new here, you might think that 2D games and Unreal Engine are two things that don't fit together. But 2026 might actually be one of the most eventful years when it comes to 2D and 2.5D game creation with Unreal Engine. We got a lot of new releases and info about games that are currently in development, new tools and huge updates to existing tools like PaperZD, and also new tutorials and devlogs you might want to check out. So in this video I'll give you an overview of the state of 2D game development with Unreal Engine 5 in 2026. First, let's have a look at a couple of new games that are using Paper2D or PaperZD, which are a great indicator for what's possible with this toolset and might give you some motivation to push onward with your own projects. A game I barely had a chance to talk about so far is Rural Cat Trails, which is currently being developed by a husband and wife team from Japan. In this game, you play a cat in a small open world, and it features a beautiful art style mixing 2D sprite characters with 3D environments, and it actually utilizes the free PaperZD plugin for handling character animations. The developer often shares insight about their game creation process on their Twitter, and since the game already passed 25,000 wishlists, I think it'll be a pretty big success, and might help spread the word about Paper2D and PaperZD in Japan, leading to new developers joining our community. Another project I've had my eyes on for a while is Gamma Emerald by Undream Panic, which is a fan remake of Pokemon Emerald being created with Unreal Engine 5 and Paper2D. In the last video of this series, I talked about the demo version he released at the time, but in the meantime, he's been working hard to release an early access version of the actual remake. It currently contains the first third of the Hoenn region and will be continuously updated. Undream Panic also often shares clips of his workflow, and there's definitely a lot we can learn from him when it comes to making 2.5D games in Unreal. The next game is a project by one of our Discord members called Mythic Tale, which I actually made a dedicated video about before. In case you missed it, it's a 2.5D action adventure inspired by 90s anime, and even the early demo I got to play was already amazing. It utilizes PaperZD for character animations, and gamedev put a lot of time into figuring out interesting workflows for particle effects and tile terrain. So if you're interested, check out the full video I made about it after you're done watching this one. Outside of these titles, I also ended up finding many other Paper2D and PaperZD games on SteamDB, and was surprised to find out how many were actually able to reach a revenue in the $100,000 to $500,000 range. A few examples of this are Loot Loop, Goo Goo Pizza, The Citadel, Be My Horde, Realms of Magic, and many others, which I all added to my list of 2D and 2.5D Unreal games. And of course, Square Enix is also still churning out HD 2D games quicker than I can even finish playing them. We got Octopath Traveler 0 in December 2025, which is an expanded version of the mobile game and the first HD 2D game to use Unreal Engine 5 as opposed to Unreal Engine 4. It did a couple of visually interesting things with the town building, but when it comes to the overall visuals of the HD 2D look, it's actually a big step backwards compared to Octopath 2. But in June, we got The Adventures of Elliot, which is their first HD 2D game that is not a turn-based JRPG, but rather an action-adventure that has a lot of similarities with Zelda games. And I think it's very interesting to see this 2.5D look be utilized for a different genre, and it allowed them to create really cool-looking combat scenarios and boss fights. And lastly, in October 2026, we're gonna get Final Fantasy Resonance, which is also going to be a turn-based JRPG, but since we're talking about the Final Fantasy franchise here, this might allow a lot of new people to enjoy the HD 2D art style. Even though I still think it peaked at Octopath 2, and when you go too high res, it loses some of the charm. When it comes to new tutorials and videos about Paper 2D, I want to first highlight a great tutorial by TalDS, which teaches us how we can improve Unreal Engine's tilemap editor to allow us to place not just static tiles, but also blueprint actors and animated tiles, leading to a much nicer workflow than just placing blueprints manually by dragging them out into the level. Even though it's his first tutorial on this channel, it's very well made, and I definitely suggest you check it out if you work with tilemaps. Another tutorial I want to highlight is 360 2D sprite characters in UE5 by Crustaceous Studio. The video teaches you how to utilize PaperZD to create a third-person style setup with a sprite character, making it show the correct rotation not just depending on how you move, but also how you rotate the camera in relation to the character. This is actually a topic that got requested many times by my own viewers, and even though I did look into it, I just ended up being too perfectionistic about it, and I kept putting it off. So sorry about that. But now you can just watch this very thorough tutorial instead. When it comes to devlogs, there's a series by Blue Door Games which I can wholeheartedly recommend. He's currently building a Wario Land-inspired 2D Metroidvania using Paper2D and PaperZD. His devlogs lean more on the educational side and solving problems he faces during development, so again, there's a lot to be learned by watching these. The last video I want to highlight is I rebuilt Pokemon in Unreal Engine 5 with no experience by Nyonks. And while this one definitely leans more into being entertaining to watch for non developers, he also goes into detail on how he learned Unreal Engine during the process and how he overcame various obstacles, also making it educational at the same time. As most of you watching this channel probably know, I spent pretty much all of last year creating my JRPG Masterclass. And it being so well received is actually the only reason I'm still able to continue doing Cobra Code, because with YouTube and Udemy slowly falling apart, I would have otherwise just had to go back to being a software engineer. So first of all, a huge thanks to everybody who got the course and everyone supporting the channel in other ways as well. I really appreciate it. But a lot of you have also been asking me when the next course will release and what it'll be about. But making the JRPG course actually took a lot out of me, and until now I was too burned out to even think about making another course. But after taking some time to travel and reconnect with family and friends, I do feel quite refreshed now, and I'm slowly getting ready to work on the next big thing. While things aren't set in stone yet and I'm still just in the very early prototyping phase, I'm thinking of making a 2.5D action RPG course inspired by the old Zelda games, Secret of Mana, and also The Adventures of Elliot. It would of course feature melee combat using a sword, items like bombs and maybe a boomerang, an overworld map with some dungeons, puzzles, and many other cool things. It'll still take me quite a while to finish, but I'm thinking of again having a special discount code for newsletter members, so if you want to stay up to date with the project and not miss out on the discount, make sure to join the newsletter from the link in the description. That will also give you instant access to this 2.5D top-down template for Unreal Engine 5. Outside of that, I've been drawing a lot of pixel art now using a modular approach that would allow for character customization or the creation of many different NPCs, but that is mostly just for myself and one of the game ideas I finally had time to get started on. When it comes to plugins and assets, a lot happened in the second half of 2025 and the first half of 2026. We got a completely new plugin for handling 2D animations in Unreal called 2D Actor Plus. It is currently still in beta but is available for free on the Fab Marketplace. On top of covering basic animation support, it was actually also able to provide long requested features such as a skin system allowing us to reuse animation setups, mirrored sprites, and a layer system for attaching armor and weapons. It also comes with great documentation and really cool sample assets that allow you to get started right away. And while 2D Actor Plus had a leg up on PaperZD with these additional features for a short while, the developer of PaperZD was actually already preparing to open source the plugin and also work on these long requested features. So 2D Actor Plus didn't really have much of a chance to establish itself against the already more widely used plugin. And while the implementation and approach is completely different, PaperZD now also has support for mirrored sprites, a skin system allowing us to share animation blueprints, a layer system for attaching armor and weapons, and actually also a new sprite importer that was added through a pull request by a contributing developer. I've actually been messing around with the layer system quite a bit and also made an in-depth tutorial showing how you can equip and display different armor pieces with it. Something that has always been annoying is that we can't have flipbook animations within UI widgets. There is an approach using materials and the flipbook node, but it's a bit cumbersome to set up, so I'm very happy that Snow, who is a longtime viewer of this channel and also a content creator, made a nice little plugin that allows us to easily add flipbooks to UMG. It also allows us to easily adjust properties of the flipbook and has a few event dispatchers we can hook into to listen for events such as finished playing. The plugin is very cheap, and I'd much rather pay a few dollars than having to do this from scratch or having to maintain and update my own plugin. She actually also made yet another plugin called Ace2UE, which isn't only an ASprite importer, but also has many features that come in handy if you make a game that heavily relies on sockets. This allows you to easily set socket positions for armor pieces or hitboxes directly in ASprite, which would be an absolute pain to do inside of Unreal if you have many animations. Something also related to ASprite that I did recently was releasing a video of my full pixel art to Unreal Engine workflow using the ASprite Importer plugin by ENFP Dev Studio and PixSquare on the iPad. And this allows us to just draw characters on the iPad and import them into Unreal Engine with the click of a single button through using iCloud in the background. And this entire workflow was only possible because both the developer of the ASprite Importer and the developer of PixSquare listened to my feature requests and were nice enough to add a few features to the plugin. So again, a huge thanks to you guys. Another thing I've been messing around with is sprite trails, and I was thinking about maybe making a small plugin for Patreon and Fab, which would allow you to easily add this to any character, but I got caught up in perfectionism again, and wanting to do it just right actually scared me away from finishing the project. So just let me know how much demand there is, and I might pick it up again. And lastly, I just want to highlight a couple of great assets by Ultimate End on itch.io, which are a perfect fit for this 2.5D art style that most of my viewers and myself are into. Asset packs with pixel textures like these are actually quite hard to come by, and currently offers 4 different packs with a town, cavern, grasslands, and frostlands. Now sadly these are only available on itch.io as far as I know, and not on the Fab marketplace, so you'll have to import these models and textures manually and then create the materials. But these assets are still great and I can highly recommend them. Now lastly, let's look at what Epic Games themselves have added to Paper 2D. And drumroll please. Absolutely nothing. Even with all of the great games utilizing Paper 2D, which released in recent years, and more people seeing what can be done with the engine, there have been no official additions to Paper 2D, which is baffling to me. Before the release of the new templates we got with UE 5.6, I actually tried to reach out to multiple people at Epic offering them to package in my 2D templates or make a completely new one for them, but I never heard back from anyone. My next big goal for pushing Paper 2D forward was to keep on annoying them until we get an official 2D template again, but with the recent layoffs, most of the contacts I had at Epic aren't there anymore. And with UE6 being on the horizon, it's just very unlikely that I'll be able to achieve anything in this direction. But once UE6 releases, I'll see what I can do again. But on the bright side, they're still at least maintaining the Paper 2D plugin and making sure that it still works every time there's a new version update for Unreal Engine. I'm also very thankful that I was invited as a guest speaker about 8 months ago for Unreal Fest Tokyo. And while the audience was rather small, it did allow me to spread the word about Paper 2D and Paper ZD outside of just the English speaking community. But yeah, we still have quite a few years left with Unreal Engine 5, and we'll then have to see how things are gonna go with UE6. It would be the perfect chance to completely overhaul Paper 2D and add official support for a lot of the things that Paper ZD is now doing, but I think it's very unlikely they're gonna allocate resources for that, and it'll probably be up to the community again to make things work. And that pretty much sums up the state of making 2D games with UE5 in 2026. Again, if you want to stay up to date with my future courses and get the top-down template for free, check out the newsletter from the link in the description. As always, a huge thanks to my awesome patrons and YouTube channel members.